You know, from the start of making this series, people have been under the impression that I make these episodes to showcase shitty games and do nothing but torture myself for other people's amusement. Those people who I first showed the Pokemon episode to wondered why I didn't slam that game as a candidate for the worst game ever. Well, it seems that I'm only 3 episodes in, and I've already found it the worst game I've ever seen. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Oh, yeah, right, another worst game ever video, because there are so many of those and they're always so right. I mean, take a look at this prime example. Where are the other
Perhaps it's me.
players?
When he
Maybe
first
there are
landed
some
here,
noobs on
Donnelly
that
wrote
hill.
that the herds were sickly, and their shepherds
I
the
get a
lowest of the
weapon?
miserable classes that populate these
Are they in
Hebridean
here?
islands.
Where's the tutorial?
300 years later,
Why
even
didn't
they
tell
have
me what to
departed.
do? What's happening? Who was talking? What was that? I missed it. The graphics are good. Where's the weapons? Where's my objective? This is so fucking stupid. This game. What the fuck's this? Fucking Iraqi. You're I know the drill. When it comes to finding the worst game ever, we've gotten to the point where the phrases become all but meaningless. But this is by far the ugliest, shoddiest, laziest, badly made piece of shit I've ever had the misfortune of playing, in quotations. I'm dead fucking serious as well. Equally, I understand that some people say that E.T. for the Atari 2600 is the worst game ever made, but well, for a start, it's been what, 30 years now? I think we need to readjust the goal for what it's worth. Someone actually tried with E.T. Someone spent months programming it, trying to make it as deep and intricate as possible in half the development time that they would have normally had. And though that might have been a little overambitious, it's still admirable in comparison to something like this. Herkules by Pheonix Games. When I first laid my eyes on this, I was at my local CEX with a friend, and though I don't usually shy away from buying complete shite, usually in large quantities as well, but here, even I said fuck that shit. I mean, just look at the cover. Like, look at this guy. Who is he? Is he Hercules? Obviously not, because you can see that the guy on the back of the box is Hercules, who has darker hair. So, who is this supposed to be? Is it meant to be this guy? Because he looks more like him than Hercules. Honestly though, I wasn't paying much attention. Well, any attention at the very beginning. I mean, why would I when I can look at this instead? I mean, how the fuck did that goat get in that tree? It's like the prophecy that the old blind dude speaks about at the beginning of Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
You shall see a cow on the roof of a cotton house.
Of course, from the front cover with the little help sticker thing here, we can see that it's obviously a CDI-esque movie with puzzles. You know, a throwback to possibly the worst kind of game in the history of video games. But the true madness of this shit heap isn't even revealed until you look at the back of the box. Oh fuck, what the hell is that? Yeah, these things are the Jesters. Weird, manic creatures who seem to be like the Code Monkey's personal agents. You know, like evil cherubs or something. I get the feeling that they were going for some sort of Minions, Raving Rabbids type thing, having cutesy little creatures that run around and do multiple functions, who could possibly sell extra merchandise. Only they realised that that would take for fucking ever and have a lot of effort behind it, and decided to bin the idea of making them appealing on any level as soon as hard work demanded it. If we go to the main menu, you can see them presenting the discs many different features to us, several different kinds of shitty DVD-like menu puzzle games, to frustrate any poor fuckwit who buys this travesty. You've got a jigsaw puzzle, a matching game, which I have to admit is the most tolerable of them, and then there's, well, a colouring game that's only just better than Colour a Dinosaur on the NES, and a tile puzzle which I haven't managed to complete yet because after spending more than 20 seconds on it, it makes me say fuck this shit and give up. I'm pretty sure that this thing has an hour's worth of content on it as a stretch, but it would do if you could play it any longer than 50 minutes without it overheating, malfunctioning and expiring. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. When I say that these games are notorious for overheating and crashing if that happens, they're gone. They never work again. Yeah, I'm not even kidding when I say that. These games are notorious for overheating and crashing, and if that happens, they're gone. They never work again. What a shame. What an absolute crying shame. It might sound like I'm beating around the bush here talking about the box and the menu, but this shit is but the cherry on the dog shit sundae. I'm not even kidding when I say that saving the best until last, or more accurately, I'm saving the actual products until last. But you see children, this movie, again in quotations, is the main attraction. A 45-minute long cartoon telling the legend of Hercules. Most likely to try and cash in on Disney's racket, like they have dozens of other times with Dalmatians 3 and Snow White and the 7 Clever Boys. No, really, that exists. Lion and the King and other abominable rip-off movies that would have otherwise rotted at the bottom of a bargain bin in Poundland decades ago, never making it to DVD. The companies behind the animations are a separate company from Pheonix Games themselves, a small German animation company run by a husband and a wife, who draw, write and voice everything. And yes, although those job roles do belong in quotations, because they don't seem to have a knack for any of it. I also get the feeling that these were made around 10 years before the games were, or at least they were put onto a DVD or a CD, depending on what point we're at. If you think that I'm too hard on them, you should probably know that I offhandedly started talking about Pheonix Games with a friend from Sweden. And when I told him that the animations were shit, he immediately guessed that the animations came from Dingo Animations. These actually are the people that made the animations, so seriously, they are that bad. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, this little gem wasn't made by Dingo Animations. I'm not really sure who made it. I did my best looking through the manual online, but found very little information on this company or this particular game. It kind of baffles me why, because if you go on Dingo Animations' site, yeah, that exists by the way, you can clearly see that they have their own version of Hercules, so I don't know why they didn't just use that. All that I can say is that Pheonix Games are pulling out all of the stops for this one, as this animated movie of Hercules, or Hercules as I'll refer to it, doesn't look like it was made in someone's garage, but instead it looks like it was made in a shoddy warehouse. The animation quality is slightly improved, so don't let that fool you, they do reuse an ungodly amount of footage without any attempt at hiding it. Even some really lazy movies that I've seen in the past have at least mirrored the footage to hide the fact that it's reused, and they also imply that people actually gave a shit about it. Now I'm going to be honest, I'm not very well versed in my Greek mythology, and by that I mean I have no bloody idea how the story of Hercules goes. I asked one of my friends who's quite into her Greek mythology what she thought of it, and to make sure that this thing didn't deviate too much from the original mythos, she didn't know and didn't care, and you know what, neither do I. So, let's just get this started and try and wing it, because fuck it, that's what the developers did. So this thing begins with, well, paedophilia. Yeah, don't know how else to describe it, but there you go, kiddie butts everyone. It's okay Pheonix Games, I didn't want to keep my day job anyway. I mean, it also doesn't help that they keep this shot on their asses for like 3 seconds. Jesus guys, come on! They showed then this fat lady comes to the party, she owns the place, mainly because she plans to, who already notices the fat lady is trying to betray him. And no, that isn't a spoiler of any kind. She goes on to announce it.
And someday I will have power over you as well. Someday that throne will be mine.
So then we cut to the Colosseum where we encounter our first bit of stock footage. Hercules and his mate, Microsoft Anna,
No, Hercules. You need to wait until you're introduced.
arrive at the Olympic Games and basically crash the Prince of Persia's party.
You don't mind, do you? The ceremony was getting long. Well, I think that went pretty well, don't you?
So then Hercules shows up like a massive douche, much to everyone's amazement because apparently people were very easy to impress back in ancient Greece. So back in Mount Olympus, when the gods are apparently putting bets on the Olympic Games, which makes sense to me, I mean, what else would you do if you're a god? Anyway, they celebrate by sending this dumb bald twat into the cellar to get some more nectar. From what I can tell, nectar is kind of a combination from the plasmids of Bioshock and alcohol. Again, I'm not really sure in the original legend and what wasn't, so I have no idea if this part reflects anything from the original. I have seen several movies of Hercules, not the Disney version, but I get the feeling that that has fuck all to do with it either. I have no idea, and I'm not gonna lie, I kinda like not knowing, that's why I haven't looked it up. I mean, there are people who do know, so they'll be able to tell you if you want to ask them, but I personally kinda like going into this shit completely blind. All that I do know is that I haven't seen a bear get flung into space yet, making this the worst adaptation of Hercules I've ever seen. So anyway, this dumb bald twat goes down into the basement to look for some nectar and ends up taking pirate nectar instead, which is apparently incompatible with Zeus. Which makes me wonder, is this a calculated move by the fat lady? Or was she just relying on this moron fucking up a simple job of picking out a drink from the choice of poison and a beverage? Daft twat. So anyway, back at the Olympics Games... Wait, haven't I seen this shit before? Fuck, they've reused it, those cheap bastards! So then, this ginger lady from Brave tries to put on a Christmas wreath on Hercules' head, and he gets the hots for her. So then he goes up to her and asks her to marry him. Obviously he's shot down because although he seems like a nice guy, he's actually a fucking creep and never we see it.
So, Deianira, is tomorrow too soon?
No,
Well then, how about today?
no.
I don't understand.
So, not too surprisingly, he gets rejected. Though so does Prince of Persia here, so I think that makes her the most relatable character here, assuming that her next course of action is to call the police on both of them. So back on Mount Olympus, Zeus is feeling the after effects of the pirate liquor, proving once and for all that Zeus is most definitely a landlubber. He gets sick, and because the most important entity in the universe doesn't need a contingency plan for any sort of, I don't know, illness, despite the fact that he can clearly become enfeebled, he leaves no one in charge, resulting in the fat lady taking over everything. It also raises another question. How come gods can get sick in this? I thought that gods were meant to be invincible, immortal, but apparently they can get tummy aches from drinking the wrong kind of drink? Who the fuck came up with this shit? Anyway, the fat lady then gets the ingenious idea of feeding this pirate liquor to Hercules. So she summons the Prince of Persia to the set of the Teletubbies, where she tells him to spike his drink. So the Prince of Persia makes a good point that keeping Hercules around isn't a terrible idea, because he's OP as shit. But the fat lady seems to disagree and inflicts the worst shake
Any
effect
furniture
I've ever
moving?
seen on us as a punishment.
You miserable wimp, he has humiliated and defied you!
She then shows him what his apathy will bring down on him, and I don't even need to say anything, just look at this.
I've got a wild idea, Deianira. Let's get rid of Eurystheus. Then you and I can become king and queen.
Oh, Hercules.
Jesus Christ. So then she shows him how it would be if they got rid of Hercules, which at this point, they should probably realise how little this lady's loyalty means to either of them. I mean, wouldn't you want someone who's about as easy to win over as a stray dog, let alone make them the queen of a kingdom? So anyway, Prince of Persia goes through with it and spikes Hercules' drink. A drink he pulls from... You know what? Write your answer on a postcard and send it off to fuck knows where. This results in this happening.
What's happening to me? Now
He turns into Reptile from Mortal Kombat, whilst the Emperor gloats about how he's the weak one now, even though he had his drink spiked, and other than that, there's really no difference here. So he stumbles around and passes out, waking up in some Don Bluth style nightmare, where he has to fight some hydras, using the powers of stock footage, spraying blood pretty much everywhere, which raises the point that this game is in fact a 3+, and yet it depicts a man brutally murdering animals, spraying their blood repeatedly in the exact same way every time. So don't worry too much, because it doesn't seem to have much of a physical effect on the Hydra. This whole segment reeks of fucking laziness. I'm not even kidding when I say that the same shot of Hercules swinging his sword blindly around like a jackass is used throughout pretty much the whole of it. It's just fucking lazy and shit. Seeing this kind of bollocks pisses me off, mainly because at one point in my life I actually delved into animation, but because I saw that I was totally shit at it, I never really took it up. And then there are people like these arseholes and dingo animations doing things 10 times worse and putting them on a PS2 disc. So he wakes up to this. Yeah, I'd probably shit it too if I woke up to those puppy dog eyes bearing down on me. Fucking creepy. Hercules then realizes that he's kinda, sorta, maybe destroyed an entire city. Oops. He then asks,
is anyone hurt?
I don't know. I really don't. What the fuck do you think, idiot? So then he turns around and finds that these Romany guys are waiting for him.
I've been instructed to take custody of Hercules and bring him to King Eurystheus with deliberate speed. Hercules, please don't hurt us. If you could just come along quietly, it would be for the best.
He goes on to visit the Prince of Persia, who informs him that the lady's life is apparently hanging in the balance unless he murders the Hydra. Oh, sorry, Hydra. He then walks away in a cliche villain manner without lightning flashes.
Deianira.
You might have noticed that in regards to pronunciation, I've been deliberately mispronouncing Hercules as Hercules. This is because it's actually spelt like this on the front cover. Now, I originally thought that this was to differentiate it from that other animated Hercules movie, but it's not. It's actually because Pheonix Games were just too lazy to change the title for the English version. Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is apparently how they spell it in Poland, Germany, and a few other places. So that's the way I'll pronounce it. So then they end up rowing in a little boat, kind of like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. In fact, it goes the same way because they end up being pulled off the edge of a waterfall. I was hoping it would end at this point with them both dying at the bottom, but there's 22 minutes left, so unfortunately they must survive. So then Pumbaa from the Lion King shows up, and creepy puppy dog front cover guy says that they probably shouldn't pick a fight with him because he's invincible or something. So Hercules fires an arrow at him and picks a fight. He then tries twatting it with his sword, and it results in it getting completely destroyed into a crumpled mess. What? That wasn't even a transition effect. How the fuck does that even work? Wouldn't it snap? You know what? Fuck it, it doesn't even matter. So then it hoists him up on his back and runs off with him, riding off into the sunset where they'll live happily ever after. Thankfully, it skips this shit and cuts to night where Pumbaa comes back and is all Disney cutesy now. Fuck off, film. Fuck off. So this guy asks if they smell something, which I thought might have been a sign that the disc was overheating. Oh yeah, I should probably take a moment to talk about the CDs that these games came on. And yes, they come on CDs in the year 2007. Now, a number of games did come on CDs. Christ knows why, because the PS2 seemed to hate CD-based games, but what else? These came on CDs in the year 2007, the same year that bloody Blu-ray came out. Not only that, but these CDs, they're like the worst CDs I've ever seen. I'm serious. They either went for the cheapest CDs imaginable, or they paid extra for extra shittiness. Because these CDs apparently overheat if you leave them in the machine for too long. I've taken a number of precautions with these games, only playing them for 50 minutes at a time. But even then, I've had a number of them break on me without doing anything wrong. Not even in the same way that most have told me that they break. I mean, they still work afterwards, but they slow down to 1 frame per minute, resulting in me having to reset my console.
Damn it, I can't get a hard on if it's not a Dalmatian. It's skipping.
Brilliant.
It's actually fucking skipping.
It's the best part. Brilliant music.
Apparently, these things can malfunction, and if they do, they never work again.
Yay!
So anyway, the creepy guy gets nabbed and does the worst scream I've ever heard. I'm not even kidding. I actually did a half-hearted scream myself as I watched this, and it sounded a lot more genuine.
Yeah, I just act like a douche. Oh my god, my pathetic scream was better than that. I'm actually out-acting these people.
So I'm going to skip ahead a bit because most of this is padding the fuck out of establishing shots. Now this is something I know happens in the original story, that he has to clear out the barn and destroys a dam in order to do it. But in this version he has to do it for a Cyclops, whereas the last time I saw it he had to do it for some noble family or something. I have no idea which one's true or what, or even if this is part of the legend. But anyway, as I've said, I've seen so many versions of the Hercules legend that I don't even know what's right or not anymore. If a bear doesn't get thrown into space in the original, I'm gonna be pissed. So it cuts to Hercules, shoveling through shit. A scene that's a little too close to home for me. Anyway, as I said earlier, he floods the barn and washes the shit away. Saves you like 3 minutes there, so you're welcome. He then acts like a complete prick to the Cyclops. And I know that Cyclops King dude isn't going to be taking away any Person of the Year awards anytime soon, but Jesus Hercules, you don't have to be such a fucking prick. And then he saves the day by telling him, no, I'll be your friend, and you're handsome and smart and... oh, fuck off. So this whole segment is completely pointless. Like, it literally exists to add 5 minutes to the runtime. This is by far the most irritatingly boring thing I've ever had to watch. I've watched some shitty movies in my time, but this is awful! Makes me wonder why it exists. I mean, just take one look at the frames to see how god-awful this thing is. The animation is atrocious, the voice acting is awful, and everything about it, it just doesn't... it just feels like I am shoveling through shit watching this garbage. So anyway, we get to the mountain where Hercules is. Now, if you have epilepsy or any other photogenic related issues where you can't handle flashing images, I'd strongly advise minimizing the video until I give the all clear. I mean it. Really. Even if there is a small percentage chance that it is worth it, I wouldn't take it. Because it's not. Even if there is only a small % chance, I mean, is it worth it? No! No, of course it isn't! Alright, 3, 2, 1. Can't believe I fucking have to do this. You know what? I don't blame him. I really don't. Okay, for a start, what is with the flashing imagery? I mean, fucking hell, there is no seizure warnings on the box or on the production or anywhere. It's like they're seriously trying to kill a few people who didn't die of boredom. And 2, what the fuck is this? How do we go from having virtually nothing on the screen to having too much? Not only that, but fuck this movie. I mean, you can clearly see where the frames keep repeating. It's so lazily done. Just fuck off. So then they throw axes at Pumbaa, who fucks off, and Hercules pulls out his now not bent sword. Did they just forget that? To be honest, I don't blame them. I mean, I tried to forget as much of this film as possible as I go. So then one of the Hydra turns into a giant axe and then a sword, and then the worst sword fight happens between Hercules and the Hydra that I think I've ever seen. It's fucking atrocious. Then they assault the viewer again by having Hothead, the fire-breathing one, genius naming by the way. He then turns bright red.
Hothead.
Then
Genius. Fucking genius. Oh god, this... Ah, fuck! It's hurting my eyes. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but this gets so bright at times. It's like... Oh, fuck. Oh, god, that red! It actually hurts my eyes to look at it. I'm not fucking kidding. It actually...
Why, you little...
He then asks Flasher, the seizure monster, to try and give Hercules an epileptic fit, and...
Flasher? Oh god, no! No, no, no. Please, please be called Flasher because he shows his cock to people. Please. Please. No, don't fucking... Ah! My eyes. Ah! This actually is physics. No, don't repeat the frame. Ah! Jesus, this hurts. I'm not like, I don't know, it might look like I'm overreacting, like on the video. Yeah, I'm looking at the monitor, it doesn't look that bad on the monitor. But I swear to Christ, if anybody watched this with epilepsy, they would probably die. It's awful. Just fuck up.
Yeah. So Hercules uses a mirror, and I'm not even kidding when the lightning bolt goes right back to the Hydra and causes their heads to explode. So then Hercules finds out that the Hydra... whatever, is immortal. So then Hercules pretty much throws a strop because the Hydra are immortal and therefore fighting them is kind of pointless. He points out that it's not really a fair fight if the other person can't be hurt, which results in the stupidest resolution to any conflict I think I've ever seen. The Hydra all turn on the boss Hydra and proceed to call him a cheat. They then basically commit suicide by pushing the main one off the edge along with each other and falling into a volcano. Now I've seen some dumb shit in my time, but that just takes the cake. He takes the cake, shits all over it, and then tries to convince me that it's treacle toffee. For fuck's sake, how much of there is left to go? Thank fuck, 7 minutes. Right, I can do 7 minutes. Right, so Hercules roughs up the Prince of Persia for setting him up against an invincible monster that apparently wasn't very smart, so it wasn't really that much of an issue. The Prince of Persia tells him that his girlfriend is now in Mount Olympus for some reason, and that the fat lady is holding her hostage or something. So we go to Mount Olympus. Just look at it. Look at how magnificent it looks. Truly, I feel humbled to be within its presence. That is what I imagine when I imagine a palace of the gods. One single Greek building on top of a hill. Just fuck off. So Hercules climbs a mountain where everybody is having a party and not really getting much done. I mean, from what I've seen of this fat lady, this isn't too bad. Why is it a bad thing that she's in charge again? Anyway, Hercules comes to fuck up things as usual, so she proceeds to throw like 3 gods at him, who are all useless because only 5 minutes of movie are left, and at this point we don't have time for any real conflict. So then Poseidon is on the job, who instantly fucks up. Christ, these gods are more incompetent than the government. So then he carjacks Apollo, the sun god, who proceeds to fall off the edge of the mountain. So I assume he doesn't survive and the sun goes out as a result. Hooray, no more sun, anybody? I mean, Jesus Christ, not even Kratos kills gods this efficiently. So Hercules one-hit kills the fat lady by throwing her into a paddling pool. Everybody cowers in fear, despite the fact that there's 3 of them now and they could easily take him out. However, it doesn't matter anyway because Zeus wakes up. It never really occurred to him to force him to drink any more pirate liquor to keep him out for as long as possible. So Hercules tells Zeus everything, and Zeus is quite understandably minorly annoyed with this inconvenience, and so as a result, he punishes the fat lady using the most impressive effect that this movie's budget could afford.
Don't interfere with earthly affairs again.
Wow. Just wow. Hercules then gets the choice between staying with the gods or going back down to Earth, and Hercules has a last-minute transformation, deciding that he's grateful for his friend's help and that he wants to stay on Earth and bone his ginger lady. The end.
Well, I think that went pretty well, don't you?
I don't even know if I need to say what's wrong with this piece of garbage. I mean, if it was a pound or from the pound shop in a bargain bin, then I'd probably have a different attitude. But this was released for £6, targeted at children. Throughout watching this, my mind kept going back to the store this piece of shit originally came from. And it makes me wonder, who was the poor fucker who bought this new? Because let's face it, we all know that these games probably would have been stocked in newsagents and supermarkets in poor areas. Growing up as a kid, I used to get £2 a week to spend. That meant that to buy a piece of shit like this, I'd have to wait 3 weeks. Now 3 weeks isn't much when you're an adult, but when you're a kid, it's an eternity. And assuming that a number of children grew up in a similar way, receiving the same weekly income, that would mean that poor kids would have to save up for weeks to buy this piece of shit. A bargain game, they'd think. It might seem like something you'd stay the fuck away from no matter who you are, provided that you had good taste of course, but think about it. It would take weeks to save up for this piece of dog shit on £2 a week. How long would it have taken to save up for £40 new releases? Hell, even an old game at the time like Lego Star Wars would have been like £20 or so. The idea that Pheonix Games releases this dog shit with the intention of fleecing kids out of their chump change pocket money is what disgusts me the most about this whole thing. Forget this cartoon is dog shit and the fact that it's a cheap ass horrible movie of little quality mixed in with some fucking shitty mini games on a CD that's designed to break after an hour of use, essentially giving the kids one last middle finger so that they can't even play the shitty product they were tricked into buying. All of this is a formula for the worst game ever fucking made. Forget E.T. for the Atari. Someone actually spent 3 months on that shit. Howard Scott Warshaw at least wanted that game to be intricate and deep. In other words, good. Yeah, okay, it was a mess. The game industry ended up collapsing because of it. Well, the console industry at least. But I had to compare these two games. It's obvious why E.T. was rushed. Demand. It wasn't the developers or even the publisher, as they worked their asses off for it. But there was no demand for this. So they don't have that excuse. I wouldn't even mind, but look at Pheonix Games' mission statement from their recently defunct website. Well, actually, it was defunct a while ago, but whatever. Believe it or not, the animation quality of this video is actually better than most of the others, like Dalmatians 3 for example, some of which are actual games, but in the loosest sense possible. Believe me when I say I've only encountered one Pheonix game that isn't complete shite. I mean, it's not good, don't get me wrong, but compared to what you've just seen, I'm willing to call it a game at least. That mission statement pretty much all but confirms everything I've just said, that these games are designed to be cheap cash-ins to steal off poor kids. Fuck Pheonix Games. Fuck this game in particular, because it's the most piece of shit I've ever sat through. And you know what? Just fuck all games right now. I think that about covers it. Join me next time when I play something good for a change.
They like you. They really like you.